Hi, everybody, and welcome to Your City, Your County. My name is Bob Gray, and we're very glad to have you here today. And we do have two guests with us, Brittany Parma and Joe Orsini. And they're involved with the Burg Speedway, which is located in Luxembourg. And I will just point them out. This is Joe, and over here is Brittany. So we're really glad to have both of you here today. Brittany, let me ask you, what do you do exactly at the Burg Speedway, which is the old Luxembourg Speedway?
The Burg Speedway is the old Luxembourg Speedway. It was rebranded when the five of us decided to join. We each have our own little niche with the track. I mainly, between myself and Lydia, we do all the sponsorships. We go around and try to get all of our sponsors and keep our relationships up with our local sponsors. Big thing was keeping it local. So we work on keeping our, I don't know how you want to put it, but our keeping up with our sponsors pretty much, and just keeping up having that relationship with them year round, and making sure we can bring on new ones every year, and just having a good relationship with the community.
That can be a fun job. I remember selling radio advertising for years and years, and it was always fun. It was always interesting.
Yeah, it definitely keeps me on my toes. That's a for sure thing. It keeps me on my toes. I also during race day, I do a lot of our backroom stuff, a lot of the background noise. I try to help out in areas where needed. Joe sees me up in the tower once in a while. I don't think he likes me up there in the tower, but it's fine. But you see me pop up there once in a while throughout the night. Otherwise, I try to stay pretty standardized and stay to the back room and help Lydia with the kitchen stuff, because Lydia does all the kitchen, handling the employees in the kitchen and making sure they're in the right areas, and getting stuff down to the pit food, and dealing with the drivers if needed be, and just kind of stuff like that.
How long has this group been together?
2020.
This will be our third season together. We got together in about October of 2019 when there was an opportunity for the track to open up to a new promoter, and Lydia kind of just pulled us all together, and she was kind of the driving force behind that. And we all kind of knew each other. Some of us had worked at the track earlier in 2019, and some had worked at other tracks together before. And she just kind of pulled the whole group together and said, "Hey, we got an opportunity here. We're not sure if anybody else is going to put a bid in for the track, so what do you guys think about us kind of putting our heads together and making a go of it?" So that's when we formed our Kewaunee County Racing Association, KCRA. That's the name of our little band of merry men and women that are running the show. So,
how many people are there that are really involved in this organizing group here?
Oh, well, there's five of us all together. Brittany kind of mentioned them. There's Brittany and her husband Jordan. They're both key players. They're part of the group. We have Andrew Sternard, myself, and then Lydia Kay. The five of us are the main ones, and then we've got just tons of people that work with us and volunteer. Just too many to name, but there's so many great people out there that stepped forward and helped us out, especially our first year when we didn't have a ton of resources. They came over, they volunteered until we could get, the show rolling, and then eventually become paid employees. But I mean, there's so many people stepped up in the racing community to help us keep this track going and keep the track alive. I'd say, we've got probably about anywhere close to maybe 40 employees or volunteers that show up every race night. Quite a few that show up during the week and help put in some hours with the track prep. We've got a retired volunteer who doesn't want a lot of accolades for what he does, but he handles the daily track prep. Because getting a racetrack ready to race on, especially a dirt track, it's not just show up on race day and you're ready to race. We've got our track master out there every day putting water on the track, packing it in, spending 2, 3, 4 hours a night or an evening to get that track ready to race on. So
for me, what is the track master?
What the track master does is they're basically in charge of making sure that clay surface is ready to race on. They'll spend the time throughout the week. We've got water trucks. He'll go out there and he'll put water down on the track throughout the week, let that moisture soak down into the track, because if you just water it on the top surface, that'll be blown off and dusty by the time you start racing on Sunday.
Okay.
So he'll go out there and then you'll want to also pack that in. He'll go out there and run the packer, run the sheep's foot. Sometimes the sheep's foot, what that'll do is that'll put little pockets into the clay that allow the water to set and soak into it. Otherwise, if you don't do that, the water will just run off because of the banking. It'll just run right down and pool up in the infield. So it's several hours every day of doing that, and you just repeat and repeat and do it over every day.
And then it rains and it gets too wet.
And then it rains. Well, that's the other thing he does is he'll watch the weather forecast, and if it's calling for rain, you don't want to overwater it and then be fighting with that the next day. So he'll keep an eye on that too. And if the weather looks like it's going to water for us, well, then he doesn't have to go out and do that. Maybe he'll just go out and run the sheep's foot around, give the track a little bit of opening up to make sure it can take that water. Our agreement with the county is the county handles the grading. Otherwise, some of the other area dirt tracks, they do their own grading. That worked out in our advantage, just being a startup group. We didn't have the kind of capital to go out and buy a grader. A lot of stuff was donated to us to use 141 Speedway. The thing with racing is everybody's in this community together to help each other out. We had another track, and some might say that's a rival track. It's not a rival track because we're all working together, but they donated a water truck for us to use our first year, and we're still using it 3 years in. So I mean, there was just, and so many other tracks offered advice and guidance. John Sternard from up in Sturgeon Bay, he's part of the group that runs the Hill Raceway. He stepped up and helped us with a lot of stuff, getting the track off the ground and doing our tech inspections down in the infield for us. Just so many, that was just huge. So many people in the racing community, so many other tracks that wanted to see this track stay open. They didn't want to see the track close up because that helps with car counts for everybody, for all the tracks in the area. So so many people.
I always think of competition. They wouldn't want to have this going on and so on. But it sounds like it's a very cooperative program.
It really is, and even tracks that run on the same night, they want to see the other tracks survive and prosper. At this point, there's still enough drivers and enough fans for tracks to be running on multiple nights and still be successful. There's a couple of tracks in the area that run Friday night. We got a couple that run on Saturday nights, and throughout the whole COVID situation, in 2020, nobody had ever gone through anything like this before. So we had a promoters group that met. We met via conference call, several times throughout the off season to try and come up with a game plan. How are we all going to work together to make sure that racing in Northeast Wisconsin is going to be able to flourish in 2020, despite all the challenges that we faced.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was huge. Brad Lupke at Shawano Speedway kind of pulled all the promoters together. And was just key in making that work out, and huge thanks to him for helping keep racing in 2020 going. So that was our first year as promoters. So I mean, we already had a ton to be worried about and nervous about, and then we had the whole COVID on top of it. It was quite a bit to chew off.
Yeah. Brittany, let me ask you a couple of questions here.
Sure. What do you got?
As far as the sponsors go, are they pretty much local, or do you have national sponsors? Or?
We do have quite a bit of local sponsors between like the Door County area. We have Quiet Woods RV. Quiet Woods RV has been on with us since the beginning, but they actually took over our billboard or Victory Lane this year. So they're our big Victory Lane sponsor. And Quiet Woods does actually sponsor our stock car class also. So we run 5 divisions. Quiet Woods sponsors the stock car division. Awesome class. Really great of Paul and Quiet Woods RV to step up and sponsor them. And now with Victory Lane, we have Eric Van Eyten, which Eric Van Eyten was a fellow racer. He ended up passing away before the season began last year, and we had a big night last year that Snoot de Grave, actually one of the drivers, headed on with all of us. And Snoot was really the driving force behind Eric Van Eyten, and he was able to come up with about $78,000 worth of sponsorship monies to go to the drivers. So that was a huge night for us, and Quiet Woods RV was definitely a huge driving part in that. Quiet Woods RV, they gave us money towards that again this year. They gave us $10,000 towards that night again this year. So that'll be a great night for EVI night again this year. So we're excited
when somebody
about that.
wins a race, what do they win? Do they get a trophy, or do they get money, or?
They get so every class, you have a payout for every class. So either way, they're going to get a payout for every class. But when it comes to the winners, they get their picture done on Victory Lane if they pass tech inspection John won't let them get their picture done unless they pass tech. And then once they pass John, once they go through John and they pass John and Jordan down there on the infield, then they can go into Victory Lane, they can get their pictures done, and they actually get custom-made trophies. So we have a great company that does all of our custom trophies, and it's really awesome. They're actually forged in metal. So I don't know if that's the correct word, but they're CNC'd. There we go, that's the correct word. They're CNC'd, and they're really interesting. Our opening night trophies look really cool, and we're really excited about those. So I can't wait to bring those out.
Northern Racing Fabrication. That's who's taking it over this year for doing our trophies.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're a small they're a small racing shop, you know, and they build racing parts. They build racing cars. They'll work on guys' cars if they got somebody else's chassis and they want some updates. Really cool group, and he's got some equipment there. So the company that was doing it for us went out of business last year, and we wanted to keep this kind of unique trophies that we had going, and Chuck over there stepped up and said, hey, you know, we can take this over this year.
That's
Yeah,
great.
that's really cool.
Very good.
Yeah.
When do and either one of you can answer this one for me, but when does all the racing start this year?
Well, we've had some setbacks. I mean, we've had a pretty wet spring. Anybody that's been in the area knows we've had a really wet spring. We've had to postpone our practice. Originally, we were going to open up May 1st was going to be our opening night. We had to delay that. We were planning to open up our season this Sunday on the 8th, Mother's Day with racing. But right now, it looks like we're going to have to move that back again. We've got fresh clay on the track that was put on it in the fall. So on top of everything else with getting a racetrack ready, that tends to make things a little bit trickier. It's going to require a little bit more prep work. It's got to be dragged, and we got to make sure we get all the stones off of it, because that's a big, that's a big danger to the drivers. Is if you don't get the big stones off the track, the tires will actually throw them up. And there was somebody there in what was it, 2019. I think they actually had a stone flap, and it cracked their helmet.
Yeah,
Ooh.
it's 2018.
So I mean, it was. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we got to make sure. And whenever you get fresh clay put down, you got that opportunity for a lot more stones than what you had in previous years. And just making sure that the clay is worked in. You know, we don't want to get on that wet track and put cars out there and have it rut up, and then we're going to be fighting ruts for the next 4, 5, 6 weeks. So we're going to err on the side of caution and just make sure that we've got the track ready before we put cars on it.
Sure. And we should mention that we are recording this show on the 4th of May, so you may be watching it later and you're already open. But,
Yeah.
Anyway, we should keep that in mind. And Brittany,
Yeah.
you'd mentioned that there were other people, and that there were 5 people altogether.
Yes.
We have 2 here.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about each one of the other individuals and what their particular job is?
Yeah, I mean, Joe doesn't like to float his own boat over there, but I'll float it for him. Joe is really great. He does a lot of our social media promotions and a lot of our advertisement. He likes to get out there and put our name out there, and he does wonderful at announcing on race nights. He won't admit it, but he does. And I kind of head up the back room on race night. Lydia and I work simultaneously together, really. Lydia does mainly all the kitchen work and schedules all of our kitchen employees and makes sure the kitchen runs smoothly and we have all the product and stuff we need for the kitchen.
And who's Lydia?
Lydia K.
Okay.
So as far as the 5 business partners, there is Joe, myself, Lydia K, Jordan Parmum, who is my husband, and then Andrew Sternard.
Oh, okay.
So Andrew Sternard does the accounting for the track and all the tower work. He is the lead scorer. He does phenomenal at it. He keeps saying next year is his 20th year doing it, and he really enjoys it. I mean, he won't admit it, but I think he does.
It takes a real talent, and I can
Yeah.
assure you that numbers, that's not my strong point. I look at things and I go, oh, that's nice, and
Yeah.
move the page along, but it's nice to have people who are aware of numbers.
Oh,
and
for
I'm
sure.
sure you need that too when
Yeah.
you're seeing the guy go around the track for the 17th
Oh
time.
yeah, I sit up in the tower a couple times and I watch him hand score and I'm like, there's no way. Nope. I tried it a couple times and all my numbers start jumbling together and I'm like, yeah, that's just not for me.
Yeah, because what Andrew will do on race night is everything is with modern technology. There's a scoring loop buried underneath
Yep.
the track, and the cars all have a transponder. And then when that transponder goes across that scoring loop, it scores that car completed that lap. So it's all it's all done by computer. But Andrew also does a hand scoring backup, just to make sure, if there's any sort of technology glitches or whatever, that there's something to fall back on for scoring records. He's been doing this for years. He does scoring up at the Hill, in Sturgeon Bay, and also at Burg Speedway in Seymour. And he's helped out getting some stuff set up at Shawano too. So I mean, he's really on top of this stuff. And he does a great job. And then of course Brittany's husband Jordan, I mean, he does a great job with handling the track prep and being responsible for that, and being responsible for all of our all of our equipment. Yeah, it's just so many people putting in so much work. And then of course Brittany and Lydia just pounding the pavement every minute they get to try and get sponsors and get people to believe in us and believe in us with their money. So I mean, just so much going on, and so many people working hard at it.
Yeah. It's definitely a big feat, all 5 of us working together. We sit down all the time and we can never figure out how you can have just one person running an entire track, because there's so many factors that go into it. And there's definitely a lot behind the scenes that the fans don't get to see and the drivers don't get to see, but I think we all enjoy every minute of it. We really pour our hearts into what we do.
Well, maybe not every single minute.
Yeah, maybe not every single minute.
The majority of the minutes. The
majority of the minutes. But we definitely pour all that we have into it, and I think as a group of the 5 of us, we work really well together.
Well, I think it's pretty amazing too that before we started this, I was talking to you about, is this your full-time job, or, and I know that both of you, and I'm figuring everybody else also, that you have other jobs. Everybody has another job, right?
Yes. My husband works on his family's farm. I work for Renew Plastics, or NEW Plastics in Luxembourg, for the Renew division. I am their shipping and receiving coordinator for that side. Lydia works for an accounting firm. I know Andrew works for an IT firm. He goes out and sets up people's basically their whole IT systems. I mean, he does really good at it. There's a lot he understands that none of us do. That is for sure.
We're so thankful for people like that.
But yeah, we all have full-time jobs besides this, every one of us, and we do this on the off hours. We are doing this at night, and Lydia and I are taking phone calls and trying to do as much as we can during the day when businesses are open and doing stuff like that. We definitely have to thank a lot to our sponsors, though, for trusting in us.
Do you go visit all the sponsors too, or do you call them, or how do you
we do a lot by
them?
email and phone call. We do visit them a lot. I'm more of an in-person kind of. I like to go and talk to them in person. I will talk on the phone, and I will touch base with our sponsors. That's why we always tell people, go and patronize our sponsors. If it wasn't for them, this track wouldn't be around. It's definitely a big fret having them.
I'm sure that they pay a lot of the bills, as well as the people who come to the race.
Fans is a huge thing. Fans are a driving point. If we don't have our fans and our drivers, it would be very hard. I think on an average night last year, I think Joe being in the tower would know this a lot. I mean, dealing in the back room at the payout, I do deal with it, but I think on average last year we had about 120 cars a night.
Yeah, it was somewhere in that 120 car range. It dropped off a little bit from 2020, our first season. We averaged I think 132 cars. We had a little bit of a drop off last year, but still averaged about 120 cars. Averaged about 1,200 people in the grandstands, which was definitely a big bump over some of the previous years. 2020 was about the same in terms of average crowd count. Is maybe a little bit lower, so we're continuing to see things grow. 2021, last year we really kind of started to come into our own. We had a lot of bigger nights. Brittany mentioned earlier the Eric Van Eyten night, where we had a total of about $79,000, a little less than $79,000 total prize money. That was easily the biggest single night in track history. That was one of the largest events in Wisconsin and possibly all the Midwest for a single night, for a single day show.
You should be very proud of that, and all the people who made that possible.
There was so many people that made that possible. So many people stepped up with donations, sponsorship. We had raffle baskets, the whole 9 yards. It was just such an amazing night, and we're so happy that we're going to be able to do that again this year. As Brittany mentioned, Snoot Troy DeGrave was one of Eric's close friends, and he really helped pull all this together as a way to honor Eric and Eric's memory. You know, we had another night. We had another village kitchen for the IMCA Modifieds. We celebrated last year 35 years of IMCA sanctioned modifieds racing in the village of Luxembourg. IMCA is our sanctioning body, and we are the 6th longest tenured track in the nation to be run in the modified division. So that was a huge thing. We had 35 years. We celebrated that with a $3,500 to win, you know, top prize for the modifieds that night. And then just kind of a last minute thing, our championship night, we had a big, the Denny Bay Memorial championship night. Denny was a long time crew member for a local racer, Jesse Cron, and for years helped him out, and he passed away. And they approached us and said, hey, we just kind of want to do a tribute night to him. And the same thing there, it just kind of grew naturally, and people donated money, and we ended up having some bigger prizes on our championship night. And it was really cool. This year we're trying to grow that Eric Van Eyten night again, to pay tribute to Eric. We've got the Rick Gorel Memorial Night coming up on our schedule. When is that one? That one's actually June 12th. Rick was a longtime promoter there that passed away way too soon. So we'd like to honor his memory and the time that he did to help keep the track alive and keep it successful. So we've got a lot of cool stuff on the schedule this year. You know, Sunday night's racing. We're gonna be starting our show at 5 o'clock. Again, we start a little bit earlier than other tracks do, because we want to get our fans and our drivers home on a Sunday night. So we try to do the early start. Usually we get our show done by 9 o'clock at night, so you know, fans come out, they still get home and they can get to bed to be at work on Monday morning, so they can afford to come back.
That's kind of important.
Yeah, they got to go to work so they can afford to come back the next weekend. So
that's right.
And you know, with the economy the way it is, and with so much inflation, we're holding our ticket prices the same. We haven't raised the admission prices. Brittany, you can confirm, but I think our pit passes stay the same as last year.
Yes, pit passes are going to be the same.
So I mean, we're trying to toe the line there, because we know things are tough, you know, all around the country, and you know, it's gonna, you know, the continued inflation and the price of gas. It's going to be hard on a lot of our drivers, a lot of our fans. So we're trying to do our best to make sure that they can still afford to come and race by us, or that the fans can come out and afford, you know, to watch the show. We've got just $10 admission for adults, you know, and kids 13 and under get in for free with an adult.
Wow.
So I mean, it's a great opportunity for people to bring their family out. Sunday nights just down the road at the Kewaunee County Fairgrounds. You know, you know, mom and dad come out with the kids, and you're paying $20 to get in.
Yeah, you don't get much for $10 anymore.
No, it's tough, and you're getting live, you know, unscripted entertainment for 3 hours for your $10 admission. You can't really beat that. So,
let me ask you a question, Brittany.
Yeah.
How many? I mean, are most of the racers that come? Do they come week after week after week, or do you get various people from all over the place?
We have a lot of guys that are weekly guys. They come back week after week, and it's really nice to have that set, you know, because a lot of what guys try to do is race for the championships for the track.
Okay.
That's always a big thing, and it's great entertainment when the guys are only a couple points away from each other. We had that quite a bit last year between a couple of classes where they were only points within winning, and it's great. So like a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll pick a track, and they're gonna, okay, I know I want to race this track. I want to race every race at that track so I can qualify for their championship. So it's really cool to see. We do have a couple guys that come in from here and there just to try it out. Very neat to see. Last year we had a couple of them that came in just to try it out, and they ended up staying as full-timers for the rest of the season.
That's great.
Yeah, it was nice to see.
It says a lot for the track and for all the people that are working there.
Yeah, so you know, we all definitely have your battles with the weather and everything, but we try. We really do.
Okay. How old are the cars that these people are driving generally? I mean, you know,
it really depends on average. You have guys that are racing cars that are probably 10 years old, and they just get their chassis updated. A lot of guys will get cars built. Some guys build them within every 5-year limit. Some guys build them every 2 years. It really depends on what class they are and how, you know, their budget. It's very a big budget sport. It's not a cheap sport by any means necessary. My husband just got done building his race car. He'll be racing full-time at 141 and at Sturgeon Bay. And that was a big thing for him. And We don't let them race by us. We tell them that's no go. Sorry, that doesn't look good. No, you don't get to race
No.
by us.
Yeah, yeah.
You have a job to do on the track. But yeah, it's definitely it's a budget thing, and if guys want to build cars, I know Joe's been in the process of building his own, so that's been fun to help him in the process of it. But it's really their budget, and if they want to build a new car and everything else, and a lot of it is maintenance. If you can keep good maintenance on your car and get your car updated and keep your chassis updated, a lot of guys will run them chassis for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Tell
I mean,
us-
we've got some cars, you know, there's some cars out there that are 10, 20 years old.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, especially in like say like your street stock, or even some of the stock cars, you got some older cars in there. So I mean, you know, once a guy gets into it, the car can still be competitive, especially if they keep up on updates. But some of the upper classes, like your modifieds, you'll be hard pressed to find a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old
Yeah.
car that's still competitive.
Mhm.
So it really depends on the division.
There's a big trickle down effect. Like
Yeah.
the sport mods will buy the modified chassis, the street stocks will buy the stock car chassis. It's a big trickle down effect.
Mhm.
The 4-cylinders are those are the guys that'll go out, they'll find a car in the junkyard and go, that looks like it'll be a good 4-cylinder, and
Mhm.
I give them the effort. They tear them all down and they put those back together, and I give them the effort on
Yeah,
that. I don't think I could do that.
The 4-cylinder division, that's kind of like the entry level division in the area.
Mhm.
And those guys are some of the last few, you know, true dedicated racers that are building their own cars. You see a lot of them, might get a cage out of an old car and put it in a new car, but I mean, they're doing a lot of the work themselves. So I mean, it's an entry level class, but a lot of the guys, you know, you don't have as many store bought, you know, chassis and stuff. It's really kind of a throwback to where the guys are doing their own work, and they'll go out and they'll buy a car. You know, they'll find a used car, you know, in the classifieds for, you know, $400, $500, $600, and they'll take it home and they'll strip it out and they'll build up their car themselves right there in their garage or their driveway. So
Mhm.
it's really pretty cool.
Do you have a particular brand that seems to be most popular?
There's a lot. I mean, for the stock cars, when I first got into racing around this area, it was Terminator chassis was the big one for the stock cars, and then Wolf chassis has been a real good one for a long time. Snipers out there, they've got a lot of good cars. The modifieds, you still got your Harris, you got your Razor chassis. There's probably, I'd say, a good, you know, at least 5 or 6 modified chassis builders out there across the country that have cars that represent in the area here. Stock cars probably about the same. There's probably a good, you know,
Yeah,
5
you
or
got
6 big
local
ones.
locals. You got
Local-
G-Force
yep,
chassis.
G-Force.
G-Force chassis is right out of Kewanee.
Hmm.
Craig Gretz, he does really wonderful work. And then you have
The Richards,
Richard
the
Brothers,
Outlaw
yes.
chassis. Yep.
and I mean, it's huge for them guys. It's guys find chassis that they like, and then it's almost like your vehicles. You have the ultimate Ford, Dodge, and Chevy war. Ultimate. It's been around since, you know, the dawn of time with vehicles. Like what's the better vehicle? Guys do that with chassis too. Once they find a chassis that they like and they find a chassis builder that they love working with, they stick with them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thunder Rock 2.
Yep, Thunder Rock is a good
Yeah.
one. Medieval is another
Medieval,
big stock car
yeah.
chassis. There's guys will stick with them. They're loyal.
Mm-hmm.
Race car drivers are very loyal to people, and it's a big family. It really is.
I imagine the whole thing, like you say, is a family.
It is. You may not necessarily always get along on race night, but behind the scenes, you know, it's a family.
Mhm.
You may not we may not always like each other, but we get along,
Mhm.
and it's driven by family. And Eric Van Eyck was a huge tribute, and the Rick Gore Memorial and all the memorials that these track have show the family that's committed within, and you know, everybody. It doesn't matter. We actually had a very big loss to the track this year. Vicki Grief. Vicki was a wonderful woman. Our tow truck driver Scotty, he runs the towing company, Window Liquors Towing,
Mm-hmm.
and he lost his mom this year too, and that was a very big hard hit to the track. Vicki is such a wonderful person, and she definitely was a second mom to a lot of people, and she will truly be missed. And now Paul Georgia from Quiet Woods RV, that would be her brother, and that was, for them, that was huge.
Yeah.
It really is. And it'll be a great night, but we're going to hopefully have a victory tour. We're going to have a black flag lap for her in the beginning of the season.
good.
And like Brittany says, it's so much family, and it's so, our local racing is so unlike any other sport. You'll see guys that are competing against each other. They'll be over in each other's pit stall helping out a guy. If a guy's having struggles, if a guy breaks apart, other teams, other drivers, even in that same division, they'll be over there helping that guy to make sure that he can make it to that A main event.
Yeah.
Whether it's loaning them parts or whether it's helping their crew coming over and helping them work on their car, it's like something you don't see in other sports.
Yeah.
And that's why they say it's a racing family. It really is. Everybody looks out for each other, and they try to help everybody out as much as they can. It's a great sport to be a part of. I'm honored to be part of it by running this racetrack.
Okay. Very good. Well, that's going to do it. We have talked and talked, and it has been great fun. I've really enjoyed it, and I've certainly learned a lot. I hope other people have too, and I appreciate both of your expertise. We've been talking to the 2 of the 5 partners of the Burg Speedway, Brittany Parma and Joe Orsini. And again, the program, the race at the Burg Speedway in Luxembourg will begin on the 15th of May.
The 15th of May.
At 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock start time, just about every summer. Every Sunday throughout the summer, we'll be having races. Be sure to check out our Facebook page. We'll have a full schedule there, and we'll keep everybody updated on in our comings and goings.
Great. We thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate it very much. And that's going to do it for our show for today, for Your City, Your County. We thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you'll come and see us again next time. Have a good day, and we'll see you later, everybody. So long.